with Mary E. in the summer of 2007. I had arranged with her husband of 15 years, Terrence, to see her for an interview. Agreed, since I was not a newsman, but rather an amateur writing, gathering information for a few early college assignments. And if all went according to plan, some pieces of fiction we scheduled. Fucking nigger, fucking nigger. You know what, guys? I screwed up pretty bad. Okay, I'm starting a Creepypasta, and it's really bad. I read in it, and just like, bruh. Like, the writing in this is terrible. It's terrible grammar. Let me just try this again, okay? Sorry, guys. This was a fail. Oh my god, okay. So let me just tell you about Small Dog. So Small Dog is basically an image that when you view in the image, incites insanity, and no copy of the exact image exist on the web through likeliness of it to do the true image of small.jpg is recognized due to effect it has on the viewer, and yeah, and it could be something with the devil. So let me just try that again. That was really bad. Oh my god, I'll get better. The first met I first met in person with Mary E. in the summer of 2007. I had arranged with her husband of 15 years, Terrence, to see her for an interview. Mary had entirely agreed, since I was not a newsman, but rather an amateur writing, gathering information for a few early college assignments. And if all went according to plan, some pieces of fiction we scheduled the interview for a particular weekend when I was in Chicago on unrelated business. But the last moment, Mary changed her mind and locked herself in a couple's bedroom, refusing to meet with me. For half an hour I sat with Terence as we camped outside the bedroom door. I was listening and taking notes while he attempted fruitlessly to calm his wife down. The things Mary said made little sense, but fit with the pattern I was expecting. Though I could not see her, I could tell from her voice that she was crying, and more often than not, her objections to speaking with me centered around an insurgent diatribe on her dreams, her nightmares. Terence apologized profusely when he creased the exercise, and I did my best to take and and it in stride. Recall that I wasn't a reporter in search of a story, but merely a curious young man in search of information. Besides, I thought at the time I could perhaps find another similar case if I put my mind and resources to it. Mary E. was a SISOP for a small Chicago-based bulletin board system in 1992. When she first encountered Smile.jpg, and her life changed forever. She and Terrence had been married for only 5 months. Mary was of Mary was one of the estimated 400 people who saw the image when it was posted as a hyperlink on the BBSB. Though she is the only one who has spoken openly about the experience, the reset of have remained anonymous or are perhaps dead. In 2005, when I was only in the 10th grade, Smile.jpg was first brought to my attention by the bargain interest in the web-based phenomenon. Mary was the most often cited victim of what is sometimes referred to as Smile Dog. Being small.jpg is reputed to display what caught my interest, other than the obvious McRae element of the cyber legend and my proclivity towards such things, was the sheer lack of information, usually to the point that people don't believe it even exists, other than as a rumor or a hoax. It is unique because though the entire phenomenon centers on a picture file, that file is nowhere to be found on the internet. Certainly, most photo manipulated simulacra litter the web, showing up with the most frequency on sites such as the image board, 4chan, particularly the X-focused paranormal subboard. It is suspected these are fakes because they do not have the effect the true smile.jpg is believed to have, namely sudden onset temporal lobe epilepsy and acute anxiety. This purpose reaction is the viewer once of a phantom-like smile dog is regarded with such disdain, since it was patiently observed, though dependent on whom you ask, the reluctance to existence, but might be just as much out of fear as it is out of disbelief. Neither smile.jpg nor smiledog is mentioned anywhere on Wikipedia, though this website features articles on such other, perhaps more scandalistic shock sites as Hello JPG or Two Girls One Cup. Any attempt to create a page pertaining to a smile.jpg is summarily deleted by any of the encyclopedia's many admins. Encounters with smile.jpg are the stuff of internet legend. Mary E's story is not unique. There are unveiled rumors of smile.jpg showing up in the early days of Usenet, and even one percented tale in the 2002 a hacker flooded the forums of humor and satire website Something Awful with a deluge of smile dog pictures, rendering almost half the forum's users at the time epileptic. It is also said that in the mid to late 90s that smile.jpg circulated on a Usenet and as an attachment of a chainmail with the subject line "Smile, God loves you." Yet, despite the huge exposure these stunts would generate, there are very few people who admit to having experienced any of them, and no trace of the file or any link has ever been discovered. Those who claim to seen smile.jpg often weakly joke that they were too busy to save a copy of the picture to their hard drive. However, all alleged victims offered the same description of the photo: a dog-like creature, usually described as appearing similarly to a Siberian husky, illuminated by the flash of a camera, sits in a dim room. The only background detail that is visible being a human hand standing from the darkness near to the left side of the frame. The hand is empty, but is usually described as beckoning. Of course, most attention is given to the dog or dog creature, as some victims are more certain than others about what they claim to have seen. The muzzle of the beast is reputedly split in a wide grin, revealing two rows of very white, very straight, very sharp, very human-looking teeth. This is, of course, not a description given immediately after viewing the picture, but rather a recollection of the victims who claim to have seen the picture endlessly and repeated in their mind's eye during the time they are in reality having epileptic fits. These fits are reported to continue intermittently, often while the victims sleep, resulting in very vivid. These may be treated with medication, though in some instances it it is more effective than others. Mary E, I assume, was not affected by the medication. That was why after my visit to her apartment in 2007, I set out feelers to several folklore and urban legend-oriented newsgroup websites and mailing lists, hoping to find the name of the supposed victim of Smile.jpg, who felt more interested in talking about his experiences for a time. Nothing happened, and at length I forgot completely about my pursuits, since I had begun my freshman year of college and was quite busy. Mary contacted me via mail, however, near the beginning of March 2008. She texted me this: Dear Mr. L, I am incredibly sorry about my behavior last summer when you came to interview me. I hope you understand that it was not my fault of yours, but rather my own problems that led me to act out as I did. I realized that I could have handled the situation more decorously. However, I hope you will forgive me. At the time, I was afraid. You see me for 15 years. I have been haunted by a Smile.jpg. Smile comes to me in my sleep every night. I know that sounds silly, but it is true. There's a great quality about my dreams, my nightmares, that makes them completely unlike any real dreams I've ever I have ever had. I do not move and I don't speak. I simply look ahead, and the only thing ahead of me is the scene from the horrible picture. I see the beckoning hand and the smile dog. It talks to me. It is not a dog, of course, though I am not quite sure what it really is. It tells me it will leave me alone if I only do what it asks of me. All I must do is spread the word. That is how it phrases it demands, and I know exactly what it means. It wants me to show it to someone else. And I could. The week after my incident, I received in the mail a manual envelope with no return address. Inside it was only 3.5-inch floppy disk cassette. Without having to check, I knew precisely what was on it. I thought for a long time about my options. I could show it to a stranger, a coworker. I could even show it to Terrence, as much as as the idea disgusted me. I heard some of them committed suicide, others remained completely silent and simply disappearing off the face of the web. They're the ones I worry about the most. I sincerely hope you will forgive me, Mr. L. But last summer when you contacted me, and my husband about an interview. I was near at the breaking point. I decided I was going to give you a floppy diskette. I did not care if Smile Dog was lying or not. I wanted it to end. You were a stranger, someone I had no connection with, and I thought I would not feel sorrow when you took the diskette as a part of your research and sealed your fate. Before you arrived, I realized what I was doing was plotting to ruin your life. I could not stand the thought. In fact, I still cannot. I am ashamed, Mr. L, and I hope that this warning will dissuade you from further investigation of Smile.jpg. You may, in time, encounter someone who is, if not weaker than I, then wholly more depraved, someone who will not hesitate to follow Smile Dog's orders. Stop while you are still whole. Sincerely, Mary E. Terrence contacted me later that month with the news of his wife had killed herself while cleaning up various things she'd left behind, closing email accounts, and the like. In the likeliness he happened upon the above message he told was a man in shambles. He wept as he told me to listen to his wife's advice. He'd found the disc, he revealed it and burned it until it was nothing but a stinking pile of blackened plastic. The part that most disturbed him, however, was how the disc had hissed as it melted, like some sort of ammo, he said. I will admit that I was a little uncertain about how I respond to this. At first I thought perhaps it was a joke, with the couple belated playing with the situation in order to get a rise out of me. A quick check of several Chicago newspapers online upshares, however, proved that Mary E. was indeed dead. There was of course no mention of suicide in the article. I decided that for a time at least I would not further pursue the subject of Smile.jpg, especially since I had finals coming up at the end of May. But the world has odd ways of testing us. Almost a full year after I'd returned from my disastrous interview with Mary E., I received another email. Hello, I found your email address through a mailing list. Your profile said you were interested in Smile Dog. I have saw it, and it's not as bad as everyone says. I have sent it to you here. Just spread the word. The final line chilled my bone. According to my email client, there was one file attachment called Naturally Smile Dog. I considered downloading it for some time. It would most likely a fake, I imagine, and even if it weren't, I would never wholly convince of Smile.jpg peculiar powers. Mary E.'s account had shaken me, yes, but she was probably mentally unbalanced anyway. After all, how could a simple image do what Smile.jpg was said to accomplish? What sort of creature was it that could break one's mind with only the power of an eye? And if such things were patently absurd, then why did the legend exist at all? If I downloaded the image, if I looked at it, and if Mary turned out to be correct, if Smile Dog came to me in my dreams demanding I spread the word, what would I do? What would I do? Would I live my life as Mary had, fighting against the urge to give in until I die, or would I simply spread the word, eager to put it to rest? And if I chose the letter route, how could I do it? Whom would I burden in turn? If I went through with my early intention to write a short article about Smile.jpg, I decided I could attach it as evidence, and anyone who read the article, anyone who took interest, would be affected. And even assuming that Smile.jpg attached to the email was genuine, what if I comprehend enough to save myself in that manner? Could I spread the word? Yes, I could.